Most chosen ones think their duty is to save everyone, to fix the toxic family member, or heal the broken friend. But looking at the text, that is incorrect. You are not the savior. You are the scale. The world is currently tipping into chaos, fear, and panic. Your only duty starting today is not to jump into the mud with them, but to stand on the other side of the scale and provide the counterweight. Today, we are learning the law of spiritual gravity and why your silence is actually your heaviest weapon. You have spent years exhausted, confused, and drained. Why? Because you misunderstood the assignment. You thought being chosen meant being the designated mechanic for everyone else's life. You thought it meant running into every crisis with your toolbox, trying to tighten loose screws in people who love being broken. You have drained your emotional energy trying to pull people up who are committed to staying down. Stop it. That is not love. That is interference. When you try to save people who are not ready to be saved, you are not doing God's work. You are getting in God's way. You are messing with the weight. You have been treating yourself like a repairman, but God designed you to be a measuring instrument. A scale does not fix the gold. It simply tells you what the gold is worth. It establishes the standard. God placed you in that toxic workplace, that difficult family, or that chaotic relationship for a specific reason, not to fix it, but to measure it. Your presence exposes the truth. Have you noticed that when you walk into a room, the atmosphere changes? When you are quiet, people get nervous. When you speak, deception feels uncomfortable. That is why they attack you. They aren't attacking you because you are weak. They are attacking you because you are the standard. You show them the imbalance just by existing. Look around you. We are living in a tipping phase. Logic is crumbling. Morality is upside down. People are calling evil good and good evil. Everything feels light, flimsy, and fake. In a time like this, God is not asking you to argue with the chaos or debate with the darkness. He is asking you to be the counterweight. He needs heavy souls. He needs people who are so grounded in reality and truth that when they step on the scale, the whole room shifts back to order. Your duty, starting right now, is not to do more. It is to weigh more. Forget the noise. Forget the need to be liked. It is time to learn the physics of your spirit. Chosen one, pause for a second. You and I both know you didn't click this video because the algorithm suggested it. You are here because your spirit is looking for answers. Do not treat this as just another clip to scroll past. Subscribe right now. Why? Because the enemy loves to distract you the moment you get close to the truth. Anchor yourself here so you don't miss the very instruction you've been praying for, the calibration protocol. You have heard the phrase, guard your heart 1,000 times. But most people treat that advice like a shield. You think it means building a wall so you don't get hurt, or hiding away so people can't touch you. That is defensive thinking. A chosen one does not hide. You are a measuring instrument, and an instrument cannot do its job if it is locked in a box. We need to reframe this. You don't guard your heart to stay safe. You guard it to stay accurate. Think about the antique brass scale again. The most important part isn't the pans that hold the weight, it is the fulcrum, the center point where the balance happens. That mechanism is your heart. If that center pivot gets rusty, dirty, or jammed with grit, the scale lies. It tells you something is heavy when it is actually light. It tells you a situation is dangerous when it is actually just annoying. This is exactly what the enemy is trying to do to you. He knows he cannot destroy the scale. You are protected by God. So instead, he tries to jam the mechanism. He throws offense, petty drama, and bitterness into your gears. Look at the people around you. The world thrives on being jammed. Your family members, your co-workers, the people on social media, they are addicted to emotional reactions. They wake up looking for something to be angry about. They are rusty instruments. They cannot judge reality because their internal mechanism is stuck. They overreact to small things and underreact to evil things because they are not calibrated. You cannot afford that luxury. You are the standard. If you let your family's drama or your boss's bad attitude stick to your spirit, you are compromising your equipment. You are allowing rust to build up on the fulcrum. When you are offended, you lose your ability to discern. You stop being a spiritual judge and start being just another emotional participant. This brings us to your new daily requirement, the calibration protocol. In the scientific world, before a scientist uses a precision scale, they zero it out. They make sure that when there is nothing on the scale, it reads exactly 0. If it is off by even a fraction, every single measurement they take that day will be wrong. Starting today, you must practice spiritual zeroing. Before you walk out your front door, before you check your phone, before you speak to anyone, you have to zero out. You must consciously release the emergencies that do not belong to you. You have to scrape off the rust of yesterday's arguments. If you walk into a room carrying your own baggage, you cannot be the counterweight. You are just adding to the pile. A jammed scale is useless to the kingdom. God needs you clean, sharp, and moving freely. You need to be so neutral that when you speak, people know it is the truth, not just your opinion. Get your heart back to 0, because once you are calibrated, you will finally understand the mystery of your own heaviness. In the next chapter, we are going to explain why you have always felt different, and why your presence alone seems to disturb the atmosphere. It is not a curse. It is the law of gravity, the law of spiritual gravity. Have you ever looked at your life and asked, why is everything so hard for me? Why does it feel like you are walking through deep water while everyone else is walking on air? You look at the people around you, your friends, your family, the people on social media, and they seem completely unbothered. They float through life unconcerned about truth, ignoring the chaos, chasing cheap entertainment. Meanwhile, you feel everything. You feel the pressure of the room. You carry a burden that nobody else seems to see. For years, you have convinced yourself that this heaviness is a sign that you are failing. You think, if I were doing this right, life would feel easy. If I were blessed, I would be floating like them. That is a lie. The heaviness is not a penalty. It is a property of your substance. We need to look at the physics of this. Picture a small bar of solid gold sitting next to a massive trash bag filled with feathers. The bag of feathers is huge. It looks impressive. It takes up 10 times more space than the gold. But if you put them both on the scale, what happens? That little bar of gold slams the plate down and the feathers fly up. Gold is heavy. Feathers are light. You feel heavy because you are spiritually dense. You are carrying what the Bible calls glory weight. The Hebrew word for glory is kabod, and it literally means weight or heaviness. God has deposited something real inside of you. The people around you, the ones chasing trends, validation, and popularity, they are light. They have no spiritual mass. That is why the wind blows them around so easily. They change their opinions every day. They drift wherever the culture goes because there is nothing inside to hold them down. But you don't drift. You sink deep. You are an anchor. This completely shifts why you are in your current situation. You have been wondering why you are the only sane person in a toxic family. You wonder why you were hired at a company that is falling apart. You keep asking God to move you to somewhere lighter, somewhere easier. But God does not put anchors in calm, shallow puddles. He puts anchors in the deep ocean where the storms are violent. He placed you there because the situation requires stability, and you are the only one heavy enough to hold the ground. If you leave, the whole thing drifts into destruction. If you were light, the storm would blow you away too. The fact that you are feeling the pressure means you are holding the line. Stop hating your heaviness. That pressure you feel is proof of your value. It is proof that God trusts you with the gravity of the situation. You are the stabilizer. Now that you accept your weight, you need to learn how to use it. You do not use an anchor by swinging it around or fighting with the waves. You use it by dropping it and staying still. This brings us to the first law of your duty, Neutrality. Law number 1, the duty of neutrality. We are now entering the practical application. Law number 1 is the duty of neutrality. Look at the mechanics of a balance scale. The plates on the left and right move constantly. They swing up and down, reacting to every gram of weight added or removed. But the most powerful part of the machine is the part that does not move. The fulcrum. The fulcrum holds all the tension. It supports the entire structure, but it refuses to sway. This is your new posture. The biggest mistake you make is thinking you need to participate in the drama to fix it. When the chaos starts, when the arguments flare up at the dinner table, or the accusations start flying at work, you jump right in. You try to explain yourself. You try to defend your innocence. You raise your voice to match their intensity. Stop it. The moment you react, you stop being the scale. You become part of the weight. You cannot measure the storm if you are spinning around inside the tornado. To measure the chaos, you must stand outside of it. You must be the still point. This is the hardest thing for a chosen one to learn because you are empathetic. You feel their anger, so you want to absorb it or fight it. But the law of neutrality says, do not absorb. Observe. Think of a lighthouse in a hurricane. The waves are crashing against the glass. The wind is howling. The ocean is in a violent rage. Does the lighthouse scream back at the water? Does it try to fight the waves? No. It stands there. It shines. It does not move. Because it stays still, the ships know where the rocks are. If the lighthouse started running around in panic like the sailors, everyone would crash. Your silence is a weapon. When someone is acting out of a demonic spirit of chaos, they want a reaction. They need you to get angry to validate their own madness. They are feeding off your energy. When you apply the duty of neutrality, you starve them. You look them in the eye, and you stay silent. You don't frown, you don't sigh, and you don't yell. You hold your position. In that silence, something terrifying happens to them. Because you aren't making noise, they are forced to hear the echo of their own voice. They suddenly realize how crazy they sound. Your silence acts as a mirror. It judges them without you speaking a single word. Stay in the center. Let them spin. You hold the line. Law 2. The duty of occupying space. Imagine a massive bag of dirt on one side of a scale. It is huge. It spills over the edges and takes up all the space. Now, imagine a small, solid piece of gold on the other side. It fits in the palm of your hand. It looks small, but the moment you drop it on the plate, the huge bag of dirt flies up into the air. Size does not equal power. Weight equals power. This brings us to law number 2. The duty of occupying space. Many of you feel outnumbered. You work in an office where 10 people are gossiping, and you are the only one trying to work. You live in a house where 5 people are chaotic, and you are the only one seeking peace. You look at the numbers and think, I am losing. There are too many of them. That is wrong. You are looking at volume. God is looking at mass. One person with a heavy, aligned spirit can counterbalance a room full of empty noise. You do not need a team to change the atmosphere. You just need to be there. This explains the mystery of why people get so angry when you just walk into the room. Have you noticed that? You haven't said a word. You haven't rolled your eyes. You just walked in to get a glass of water, and suddenly the mood shifts. The conversation stops. Someone gets irritated. They ask, what's wrong with you? When you haven't done anything, you take it personally. You think, maybe I should be friendlier. Maybe I should smile more. No, stop shrinking. They are not reacting to your face. They are reacting to your displacement. It is spiritual physics. If you drop a heavy rock into a bathtub full of water, the water has to move. It has no choice. It gets pushed out of the way. When you walk into a room filled with chaotic light spirits, your heavy spirit displaces them. Your peace agitates their demons. Your silence highlights their noise. They get irritated because your presence crowds them out just by existing. For years you have tried to solve this by shrinking. You try to make yourself lighter so you don't disturb the water. You laugh at jokes that aren't funny. You agree with opinions you hate. You try to become a feather just to fit in with the dirt. That ends today. Your duty is not to fit in. Your duty is to tip the scale. You are the counterweight. If they feel uncomfortable around you, let them be uncomfortable. That pressure they feel is the presence of God on your life. Do not apologize for it. Occupy the space you were sent to hold. Be the heavy thing in the room. Once you accept that you are the heavy weight, you must learn how to read the measurement. This leads us to the final law, judgment. Listen to me closely. I know you're used to being the heavy one. I know you're used to watching these messages in silence, feeling like nobody else on earth understands the pressure you carry, but you are wrong. You are not alone. If this message is validating what you feel inside, hit that subscribe button. Don't keep fighting this spiritual war in isolation when there is an entire army of us standing right here with you. It's time to come home. Law of Three, the duties God of judgment. We have talked about staying still. We have talked about being heavy. Now we must talk about the result. Why do you use a scale? You don't use it just to look at it as a decoration. You use it to get a number. You use it to get a verdict. This brings us to law number 3, the duty of judgment. This is the part that makes most chosen ones uncomfortable. You have been trained by society to be polite. You are told to be agreeable. The world screams at you, don't judge. They tell you that love means accepting everything and everyone without question. That is incorrect. Love loves people, but it judges evil. If you cannot judge, you cannot protect anything. A scale that reads 10 pounds, regardless of what you put on it, is a broken scale. It is lying. God did not give you this heavy spirit to be nice. He gave it to you to be accurate. Modern society is obsessed with blind tolerance. They want you to look at a lie and call it the truth just to keep the peace. They want you to look at a toxic situation and pretend it is healthy. They want you to pretend that the feathers weigh as much as the gold. You are the only one in the room who sees the imbalance. How many times have you met someone new, and while everyone else is charmed by them, you feel a pit in your stomach? You feel a coldness. Something is off. But then you make a mistake. You silence the verdict. You tell yourself, stop being so critical. Give them a chance. Maybe I'm just imagining it. You are not imagining it. That pit in your stomach is the scale tipping. That is the mechanism working exactly as God designed it. That feeling is the measurement. God is showing you the weight of that person's spirit before they even reveal their true colors. When you second guess your gut, you are falsifying the spiritual records. You are telling God, this is safe, when He has already told you, this is wanting. Your duty is to trust the measurement. If you sense something is off, it is off. You do not need to wait for them to betray you to believe it. You do not need a smoking gun. The shift in your spirit is the evidence. You are not here to validate people's masks. You are here to see behind them. Stop apologizing for your discernment. Stop trying to force yourself to trust people that your spirit has already rejected. You are not being mean. You are being right. And in a world full of confusion, being right is the only way to stay safe. Now that you understand your duty to be the neutral, heavy judge, we have to answer the biggest question. Why is this message finding you right now? Why hasn't God told you this before? The answer is in the timing. The world has reached a specific tipping point. Why the instruction is coming now? You are not watching this video by accident. You didn't click on this simply because the thumbnail looked interesting. You are here because the spirit realm is sounding an alarm, and your spirit was tuned to hear it. Why is this instruction coming to you today? Why the urgency? Because we have reached a tipping point. Look at the world around you. We are not just seeing bad days or political arguments. We are witnessing a fundamental inversion of reality. the side of the scale holding deception, fear, and confusion has become massive. It is weighed down by millions of people who are lost in the noise. The world has tipped so far into darkness that it is in danger of flipping over completely. When a scale tips too far in one direction, you have two choices: let it crash, or add more weight to the other side immediately. That is why God is waking you up. He is calling the heavy souls to report for duty. For the last few years, you have been focused on your personal problems. You have been praying about your career, your finances, your loneliness. Those things are valid, but they are small compared to what is happening now. This instruction is shifting your perspective from personal comfort to collective survival. God is telling you, I need you on the scale. He is placing you in specific environments, that chaotic city, that difficult family, that godless industry, because He needs a counterweight right there. He needs someone who knows the truth to stand in the middle of the lie. He needs someone who carries peace to stand in the middle of the panic. This is a collective spiritual assignment. The reason you cannot seem to escape your burdens right now is that the world cannot afford for you to leave. If the scale that is you decides to walk away because it is too hard, or because you are tired of being the strong one, what happens? The other side wins. The chaos takes over. The deception becomes the only voice people hear. You are the resistance. You are the stopgap. God is trusting you with this pressure because He built you to handle it. He is adding weight to your spirit, not to crush you, but to balance the world around you. You are being deployed. The time for casual Christianity is over. The time for just going to church is finished. You are now the operating instrument of God's judgment in the earth. Do not leave your post. The balance of everything around you depends on you staying heavy, staying still, and staying true. Now that you understand the stakes, we have to talk about the cost. Because standing alone on the scale can feel incredibly lonely. In the next chapter, we are going to address the solitude of this calling and why being set apart often feels like being abandoned. Stop. Look at me. If you haven't subscribed yet, you need to ask yourself, what is holding you back? Is it hesitation? Is it doubt? You asked God for a sign, and He brought you to this exact second in this video. Do not project the answer just because it requires a commitment. Don't disconnect from the source that is feeding your spirit. Subscribe now. Stay connected to the voice that tells you the truth when the rest of the world is lying to you. The cost of being the scale. This path gets lonely. Let's be honest about it. One of the hardest parts of accepting this duty is the solitude. You see other people in big groups, laughing, partying, and validating each other's confusion. They have a sense of belonging that you have never felt. You try to join them, but it never works. You always feel like an outsider, like you are watching a movie that everyone else is starring in. You have spent nights crying out to God, asking, what is wrong with me? Why can't I just connect with people? Why am I always on the outside looking in? You aren't on the outside because you are defective. You are on the outside because you are the scale. Look at the visual again. Where does the scale sit? It sits alone on the table. It is not inside the bag of feathers. It is not mixed in with the dirt. If the scale were buried inside the pile, it couldn't measure anything. It would just be part of the mess. To measure the pile, you must be separate from the pile. This is the cost of your assignment. You cannot be deeply intimate with the very things you are called to measure. You cannot be one of the gang when the gang is heading off a cliff. The moment you fully blend in, you lose your capacity to be the standard. You have called this feeling isolation or rejection. That is the wrong language. The correct word is set-apartness. A surgeon scrubs in before surgery. They stand apart from everyone else. They cannot hug their family or shake hands with friends once they are scrubbed in. Is that rejection? No. It is necessary separation for the sake of the life they are about to save. They have to be sterile to be effective. God has scrubbed you in. He has set you apart because the infection in the world is high and He needs you clean. This means you have to accept a hard truth. You will not be understood by the people you are measuring. Your family might love you, but they may never get you. Your co-workers might respect you, but they will never truly let you into their inner circle. Stop trying to force intimacy across that boundary. Stop trying to make people comfortable with your calling. They can't be. Your holiness exposes their compromise. Your discipline exposes their laziness. The distance you feel is not a wall to break down. It is a boundary to respect. Embrace the solitude. It is the only place where you can hear God clearly enough to get the accurate weight. You are not alone. You are positioned. Now that you have accepted the duty, the weight, and the solitude, we have one final step. How do you actually do this tomorrow morning? I am going to give you a specific practical assignment to lock this in. The practical commission. We have covered the theory. Now we must handle the practice. You can listen to this message, feel good about being heavy, and then immediately go back out and make the same mistakes. You can walk right back into the noise and get swept away by the first wave of drama that hits your phone. If you do that, this was just entertainment. But if you want this to be transformation, you need a tool. You need a physical way to apply the scale in real time. For the next 24 hours, I am giving you a specific homework assignment. It is called the 3-second pause. This is how it works. From this moment forward, you are forbidden from reacting instantly to anything. When your phone buzzes with that stressful text message, do not type back immediately. When your family member makes that passive-aggressive comment at dinner, do not snap back. When your boss creates a crisis out of thin air, do not jump. You stop, you take a breath, and you count. 1, 2, 3. That 3-second gap is not just a pause, that is the fulcrum. In those 3 seconds, you are separating your flesh from your spirit. Your flesh wants to screen, defend, and fix. But your spirit, the heavy part of you, needs a moment to zero out the scale. In that silence, you are asking God, what is the weight of this? Is this a real emergency, or is this just noise? 90% of the time, you will realize it is just feathers. It is just noise. And because you paused, you will respond with the authority of the scale, not the panic of the victim. This is your new standard. You are no longer available for instant reactions. You are a measuring instrument, and precision takes time. I need to know who I am speaking to right now. I need to see the remnant that is actually holding the line in their homes. In your own life, do you feel like you are the one constantly balancing the energy of your family? Go to the comments right now and simply write yes or no. If you write yes, you are confirming that you are the designated counterweight for your lineage. You are acknowledging that without you, the whole thing tips over. Do not look at that burden as a punishment anymore. Wear it like a badge of rank. You were built for the heavy lifting. The world is tipping into chaos, fear, and confusion. Let it tip. You do not move. You do not sway. You occupy your space. You keep your mechanism clean, and you render the verdict. You are the chosen. You are the scale. Now, go do your duty.